Hello, creepers, and welcome back to High Frights. You gotta spark 'em if you got 'em, and let's get a little weird. Today, we're not just looking at a cold case, we're looking at a case that defines the definition of cold case as a genre. We're going to the late 60s in Northern California, a time of the summer of love and hippies. But beneath that, a predator was stalking the fog. This is a story of the Zodiac Killer. But we're going just a little bit deeper than the movies. Not deep enough to get in trouble by YouTube, so please, buckle up. But a little bit deeper than the movies. We're going to be talking about the missing letters, the 340 cipher that took 51 years to crack, and the very specific forensic mistakes that the Presidio Heights crime scene just kind of missed. They could have just let the killer walk in plain sight. This is a story of jurisdictional chaos and a killer who realized that if you give the media a character, they'll just give you a platform. Now, before we even continue on anything else, I do have to say this for legalized reasons. This episode of High Frights contains detailed accounts of homicide, physical assault, and psychological terror. We will be discussing the graphic crime scene details, ballistics, and the context of the killer's taunting letters. This material is intended for mature audiences and may be disturbing to listeners. The Zodiac Killer case remains an active, open investigation in multiple jurisdictions, including the San Francisco Police Department and the California Department of Justice. The theories, suspect profiles, and these quote-unquote solutions to Ciphers presented in this episode are based on a combination of official police records, historical archives, and well-documented investigative journalism. While we do discuss high-profile suspects, it is important to remember that no one was ever charged or convicted of these crimes. All suspects mentioned are presumed innocent unless proven otherwise in the court of law. We aim to treat this case with the gravity it deserves out of respect for the victims and for their surviving families. If you find true crime content involving stalking or random violence taxing on your mental health, please proceed with caution. And remember that your mental health matters more than a viewing, so please, if you are disturbed, please click away. Before we even hop into this, again, apologies. Like I said, spark them if you got them. Let's do this before we hop into this case, because this is going to be a doozy. Cheers, everyone. And also, don't forget, everyone down below, comment, what's your gardening tool of preference? I use a bubbling tool. Now, let's dive into it. December 20th of 1968, Lake Herman Road. David Friday and Betty Lou Jensen. Most people know they were shot. But let's look at how. The killer didn't just fire. He used a flashlight attached to the barrel of his .22. This was high-tech for a random killer in 1968. He shot David in the head at point-blank range, then fired 5 shots into Betty Lou's back as she ran. This wasn't just a robbery. This was a military-style execution. Then, July 4th rolls around of 1969. Blue Rock Springs. I apologize, I am going to be butchering these names again. Reading off names is not my strong suit, so I do apologize to the victims' families in advance. And to anyone whose names are these. Mike Menegue and Darlene Friend The killer pulls up, shoots him with a 9mm, and then leaves. But then he comes back. He hears Mike Manigault groaning. He realizes that they're not dead. He then fires 2 more shots into each of them. This is considered overkill, a psychological trait of someone who is terrified of failing his task. Mike survives and gives us our first look, a quote-unquote beefy man around 200 pounds with light brown curly hair. Later on August 1st of 1969, the letters start arriving. This is pretty much the Zodiac Killer's coming out party, if you will. He demands his 408 cipher be put on the front page, or he'll, and I quote, kill dozens of people over the weekend. Now, at first, the police were obviously skeptical, like hell, I would be too. Is this a prank? Is this just a teenager just kind of getting wind and kind of going off on a whim here, just trying to be funny? But then he also provides details of the murders that only the killer would really know. He mentions the brand of the ammunition. He mentions that Betty Lou was facing her feet toward the car. The 408 cipher was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife. It said, and again, I quote directly from the letters, "I like killing people because it's so much fun. It's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill." He does in fact misspell forest with 2 R's, which is a reoccurring tick that goes throughout the letters. But this also raises questions, especially with the FBI profilers and all the police involved. Was he uneducated, or was he just creating a persona of like a hill? Most people thought he was creating a persona of a hillbilly. That is quote for quote what this says. I know that some of this is offensive language, and I do apologize in advance. Most believe that he was intentionally creating a persona of a hillbilly to throw off the FBI profilers. Others believed he was just, well, uneducated. But then later on September 27th, on 1969, this is the most cinematic and most terrifying attack. This happened at Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia. It is a very beautiful name spelled out, but I have no idea how to pronounce this. Cecilia Shepard. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. The killer doesn't just shoot them from a distance like he did with the others. He approaches them in broad daylight wearing a costume. A black 4-cornered hood. It was slit with the eyes, with a white zodiac symbol stitched to the chest. This time, he has a foot-long knife and a baton. He ties them up with plastic clothesline. He starts talking to them for several minutes, playing a character, claiming that he's an escaped convict from the Deer Lodge in Montana. Then, the horror. He stabs them repeatedly. He then walks to the car and then writes his log at the door. This is pure narcissism. He's documenting his work for the police to find. Forensic experts later found a size of a 10. Forensic experts later found a size 10.5 wing walker boot print. A boot specifically issued to military personnel. The net is tightening, but the Zodiac is already moving to the next city. I apologize. I know this is a lot of timelines, a lot of time skips, and I know I'm apologizing a lot. We're just kind of going through this like bam, 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 back to back to back to back. We're going to try to do it back to back to back, and then we'll try to do more of the commentary towards the end before we leave. On October 11th of 1969 in San Francisco, a cab driver by the name of Paul Steen is shot. This is the only urban murder. 3 kids from across the street see the killer wiping down the cab. They're actually the ones that end up calling the cops. And you know what? Those kids deserve all the Fortnite gift cards and the Robux they deserve after that one. Because witnessing a murder, I mean, come on. What's cheaper? Sadly nowadays, what's cheaper? Paying for therapy in the United States, or just getting the Robux or Fortnite, the V-Bucks? The dispatcher makes a fatal error, and they broadcast the suspect as an African American male. 2 officers, Pacelli and Fork, are driving towards the scene. They see a white man walking away from the cab. Because they're looking for an African American, they don't stop him at all. They might have even talked to him. Now, again, in police records, it does say might. That's not just that's not a typo. It's on record. It says might or possibility. How do you not know if you talk to somebody? The Zodiac Killer later claimed that in a letter that he told them a lie, and they let him go. If that's true, the biggest what if in history, and this is the biggest what if in history now. Like the biggest what if, at least in criminal history, I should say. Sorry, Marvel fans. He sends a piece of Paul Stein's blood-soaked shirt to the Chronicle to prove that it was him. Then, here comes the 730, the Z340 Cipher. It remained unsolved for 51 years, and it wasn't until more recently, in 2020, that a team of amateur code breakers used a supercomputer to crack it. It finally said, "I hope you are having a lot of fun in trying to catch me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it'll send me into paradise a lot sooner, all the sooner." And also in the letter, he did spell paradise. It's misspelled. He spelled paradise with a C instead of an S. In the letters, there was multiple instances of him mocking the death penalty, basically saying it doesn't matter if I rot in jail or if you catch me and end up giving me lethal dosages, I'm still going to survive in the long run, at least spiritually. Now, we have to talk about a very familiar name if you've ever seen the Fincher movies. Arthur Lang Allen. Now, he's in the Finch movie, he's the guy. He was the school teacher fired for sexual conduct. He had a Zodiac watch. He had the same boots. Told a friend he wanted to kill people with a flashlight attached to a gun. He was in the right place at the right time for every murder. But there was also a problem. This is why he never got convicted. There was DNA found. In 2002, investigators pulled DNA from the back of the Zodiac stamp. It didn't match Allen. His handwriting didn't match either on the letters. So either Allen was just a copycat who planned the murders but didn't really commit them, or the Zodiac was someone else entirely. Some believe that it was Richard Kowalski, who was the newspaper editor. Others then believed it was Lawrence Kane, a man who Darlene Finn's sister said was stalking Darlene around that time. The theories are a hall of mirrors at the moment. Zodiac stopped writing in 1974. Did he just vanish, or did he finally pass? Did he go to prison for something else? Or was he actually a 90-year-old man living in a retirement home right now, watching this very video? The frightening part isn't just the murders, it's the fact that he won the game, technically. He became an icon, a cipher that we're still trying to solve about 60 years later. Now, you can find more about this case on the FBI Files official website. The FBI does have an official and public records website you can go check out. I will try my best to link it. If it is not linked, I apologize. You are seeing this way too early. Now, before we go, because that case was a labyrinth, we're going to take a final gardening before we depart. Yeah. Yeah, I can't not cough at least a little bit. I am a lightweight. I apologize. But for now, stay safe, check your back seat, and stay elevated. Goodbye.